Dr. William Defoore is an author, counselor, coach, speaker, and owner of Halcyon Life Enterprises. He speaks internationally on emotional intelligence and emotional wellness in personal and business relationships. He has designed and provided educational programs for people from all walks of life, including Native Americans, Montessori students in Mexico, prison inmates, and Fortune 500 business leaders. He served as an adjunct faculty member with the Cooper Aerobic Center for 25 years and was a regular commentator on Lime Radio. Through his work, Dr. Defoore helps individuals and organizations bring body, mind, and spirit into an integrated focus, leading to enhanced levels of personal and professional integrity. His work integrates positive psychology and emotional intelligence, providing a practical model for successful functioning in the world. Please welcome Dr. William Defoore.
Well, it's no secret that I like to have fun. You can see from the pictures a lot of me playing and Cindy right there with me. So I'm feeling really full at this point from this day. It's been phenomenal. It's great honor and privilege to be here and be a part of this organization and a part of this exchange. You know, I've been working with people with mental and emotional problems for 47 years. And one of the things that I've concluded is that your life wants you to be magnificent. Now, that may not be a word that you think of often when it comes to how you see yourself. But think about this. You probably do like the idea of rise and shine with good days, right? We all want to get up and get going, and we want to aspire to great things. We at least want to do a good job of whatever it is we're doing. So I want you to consider expanding into a word like that for yourself. Other words that relate to that would be fulfilling your life's purpose, being the best, rising to the highest and best of who you are. I think your life is perfectly designed to help you do that. And your mind is trying to help you, even though at times it doesn't seem like it. You know, you've probably heard the statement, people standing around talking, and somebody laughs and says, "Yeah, I'm my own worst enemy." And get some nods. Have you ever been standing around with people and somebody says, "Yeah, well, I'm always my own best friend"? It's kind of embarrassing. You don't say that in front of people. So what is it about us? It's okay and funny to be your own worst enemy, but it's like you don't talk about being your own best friend. But if everywhere you go, there you are, wouldn't it make more sense to take your best friend than your worst enemy? Well, what they're talking about is their mind. We have these amazing brains. You have a brilliant mind. Now, I don't know if you've ever thought that, but it's actually true. It's not flattery, it's standard equipment in the human organism. But because it's so sophisticated and because it's so multifaceted, a lot of us really just don't know how to use it. So I'm going to give you today some ideas about what I've learned about how to make your mind work for you and not against you. So your mind is trying to help. Let's look at some developmental things to put this in perspective. Cindy and I were at a housewarming party recently, and there's a little adorable 14-year-old or 14-month-old toddler running around. And the adults were having good conversation and talking and sharing refreshments. But who got the most attention at that party? The toddler, right. Now, that was once you. You don't remember because this is pre-conscious. We don't remember that stage of our lives because memory doesn't go back that far. But you were adored. You were seen with the eyes of absolute love and appreciation, and you liked it. This is part of our human journey. Babies are adorable. If we go out in public and someone has a small child or a baby, that's where our attention goes. And we'll smile and say something about the baby. We won't necessarily approach the adult. But so there's something about that, and you once had that. Now, I think we all liked it. And I think it said something to us like, you're special, you're gifted, you're adorable, you are loved, you're wonderful. So it's not socially acceptable to go around and tell people, you know, I have a brilliant mind and I'm truly adorable. And you know, those are not socially acceptable things to say, and I'm not suggesting that you do that, but I am suggesting strongly that you think about those things for yourself. Because if you're going to be your best friend, that's part of what's involved. Now, one of the reasons that that's necessary is that this critical part of your mind runs on automatic. You don't even have to decide whether you're going to use it or not. It's just going to show up, right? And tell you about what needs to be done and what you should have done differently, etc. So, when we look at this early stage of life and this great experience of being adored and appreciated, did that last? No, you're not getting it now, are you? So I had an experience as an adult. Sometimes that desire to be adored extends into adulthood. And I was speaking to an audience one time. It was a big audience at a conference, and got a standing ovation. It was so cool. And I literally had this thought. It's a little embarrassing to admit it, but I had this thought, I have arrived. Finally, I'm being seen and recognized for these amazing gifts that I have. And I literally was surprised when 10 minutes later, walking down the hall, it wasn't any different. Nobody knew me. I was just the same guy. So that bright, glowing light that we get in childhood, of that loving adoration when we first fell in love, those things, they expand and then they contract. We want that light to shine again, and we feel sorrow and pain, fear, and sometimes anger about it having gone away. So that developmental process creates a primary function in our mind of looking outside, trying to get those people to love us, trying to get that person's attention, trying to get that teacher, that boss, that spouse to feel good about me and to lift me up. And the negative part is there too, hoping that person won't leave me, hoping that boss won't fire me, hoping those people won't shun me or embarrass me. So that outer focus, looking for what we want and fearing what we don't want, is a really big part of the human journey, and it's a big part of why our mind is sometimes not our friend. Because that's an unstable way to be in the world. We just don't find what we're looking for. We can't find anybody who will always give us exactly what we want. Not going to happen. There is no person who's going to show up and say, finally, I found you, and let me make everything work for you from here on. That's just not going to happen. That was another dream I had. I thought I was going to be discovered. So then, when you realize that that's not going to happen, the mind's secondary function shows up, and you start to think about a different kind of question. Not with the primary function that is, will those people love me? Will they hurt me? Am I safe with this person? Can I reach that goal? It's not the outer focus. It's the questions are, who am I? What am I doing here? What's my purpose? And the cool thing about that is that you have total freedom and total responsibility when it comes to those questions. Who you are, what you're offering, what you're going to create, you have complete freedom to choose in that arena. And when it comes to somebody else doing what you want them to do or not doing what you don't want them to do, you have very limited freedom and responsibility. So really, this is about some methods for putting you in the driver's seat of your life. and literally for getting your head in the game of life. Because quite often, I mean, any sports fans in the room know that a mental attitude can completely cause failure for a wonderful athletic team or a wonderful athlete. So we're talking about getting your head in the game of life. I happen to believe that life is an athletic event. And I'm in training because I want the whole thing, all the way to the end, to be good. And I'm sure you do too. So we're really focusing on getting your head in the game here. And that inner focus, you probably have noticed, it's not popular. You know, it's embarrassing to say, no, I really can't go to the ball game. I gotta go home and journal, meditate a little bit. But, you know, it's just not popular. You might want to do that, but you're not going to tell anybody. We're not educated about the importance of internal focus. My favorite quote from science fiction author Isaac Asimov is, if you could see far enough out into space, you might be able to find the back of your own head. Suggesting that the inner world is as vast as the outer. I actually believe that it is. So when you start looking inside, you're going to find a vast realm of previously uncharted territory with a whole lot of things going on in there. But you don't want to just bounce out of that because of fear or guilt or shame or embarrassment or distraction from the outer world, because it's very distracting, right? There's always something pulling us to that outer focus. So this is what I want you to think about in terms of the activity of your mind. This is one of the reasons that it is so difficult for us to harness the activity, the mental activity of our mind. It is literally like a time traveler. Like right now, I'm sure that you're 100% in the present moment, totally hanging on every word I say, but maybe a little bit once in a while you're going to think about something that happened a little while ago or something that's going to come after this, you know, because that's kind of what our mind does, right? It does this little time travel thing. So that is a process to which most of us are just victims. I mean, do you think about, I think I'll think about the past for a little while. Nope, I think I'm going to worry about the future. We don't decide it, do we? It just happens. You know, people have fears about upcoming events or things that are in front of them. And what you don't realize is that fear is negative rehearsal. It's visualizing and thinking about something that you don't want to happen. You don't want to be a victim to your own mind's brilliance in pre-paving and planning unwanted events. So here is the formula that I want to suggest for taking charge of that time-traveling process. It's called Goodfinding. Really nice fit with good days. Goodfinding is the practice of gratitude, appreciation, and optimism. And when I first started doing talks on this topic, I used gratitude and appreciation interchangeably because it kind of seemed like the same thing. But gratitude is really something that you feel for what has already happened. And appreciation is really more about something that's happening right now. And certainly for our purposes today, I want you to make that distinction. So this is how you take charge of the time travel process and make it work for you and not against you. Gratitude for the past means kind of creating a positive nostalgia. So, do you remember the people who loved you unconditionally? You know those people? Usually we can count them on one hand, you know, because unconditional love is really hard for us humans. Dogs are great at it, but we have a hard time. But think about those people that you felt loved you unconditionally. See yourself through their eyes. Consider the possibility that they might not have been wrong, maybe even seeing you more accurately than you see yourself. Now this, by the way, this is a practice. If you don't put some time and energy into this, you'll just keep going back to the same old mental processes. So practicing gratitude, thinking about all of the good things that have happened, savoring, reminiscing, and expanding on and diving deep into your happy memories. Because your past is literally a treasure house, a storehouse of value if you decide to use it that way. Josh's talk was just phenomenal, right? He has derived value, tremendous value from his past. So spend that time looking at your personal history, and not only at the good things in your past, but also take a look at, am I aiming this in the wrong direction? What, this way? Okay, thanks. Deriving value from the not so good, right? Because that's one of the reasons people don't want to think about the past. You hear, put the past behind you. Do you know what? That is not going to happen. Your past is present. It's with you right now. It's like if you were an oak tree, it would be your roots. It's a part of who we are. If you dive deep into it and till the soil of that life experience, you will get huge values. So you look at, what did I learn from those difficult and traumatic and painful experiences? What value can I derive? What did I conclude about myself that might be limiting me now? If you ever have the thought or the belief, I really want you to consider this. Any negative self-belief, self-limiting beliefs you have about yourself, I want you to put them on a shelf under the label, probably not true. Or just take off the probably, just say not true. Like, I'm not very creative. You're creative by nature. It's in our nature as human beings. Doesn't mean great art, and doesn't mean what anybody else thinks. We are naturally creative. I can't sing. There's a great quote, an African quote, says, if you can walk, you can dance. If you can talk, you can sing. There's rhythm and movement and music in talking and in dance and walking. So don't let anybody tell you you can't dance or you can't sing or you can't make music. Take all those self-limiting beliefs and put them aside and start exploring the idea and the possibility that you are an amazing creator, that you are magnificent, that you are brilliant, and you literally can do anything you set your mind to. Did anybody get told that as a child? You can do anything you set your mind to. Keep that one. And take value from the difficulties and look at what you learned and be grateful for that. It's a tall order, but it can be done. As a matter of fact, if we're not grateful for the difficult experiences in our lives, they become lead weights draining our energy. So now, think about this laser focus of your brilliant mind. You have this incredible ability to focus your attention. I actually think that what you pay, about that word, what you pay attention to is the most important investment you could ever make. Because what you pay attention to grows. If you're focused on your problems have all of a sudden filled your consciousness. If you focus on your strengths, the things that are good and right and working, then that's going to grow. That doesn't mean you're going to ignore your problems. They just won't overwhelm you because they won't occupy your full focus. So, right now, anybody got any organs that are functioning pretty well? Yeah, Poppy, yep, you got good balance, you know. We don't have the balance that Josh has, but everybody's staying in their seat really well. Nobody's falling out of their seat. And I saw everybody walk in here. Appreciate these things. Don't take any of your blessings for granted. None of them. But if you don't take the time to practice this appreciation, you will not hold value for these blessings. And it'll be like that song. You won't know what you got till it's gone. Don't live like that. Live in this moment, savoring, enjoying the blessings and appreciations of what's happening right now, the beauty and blessings in the present moment. Now, when something appreciates in the business world, what does that mean? Goes up in value, right? So, would anybody like to be more consistent in how you take care of your body? Yeah? If you appreciate something, think about what is your most valued possession? What is your most prized possession? Or maybe it's a person in your life that you love more than anyone. That's where we give the greatest care, isn't it? Whatever we appreciate and love the most, that's where we give the greatest care. What if you decided to love your body and you take the time every day to do an inventory, head to toe, to appreciate, and it's not just body, but body and mind, all of these amazing, miraculous functions that we take for granted? When you appreciate them, you will raise the value that you hold for those, and you will be better at caring for your body and your mind as a direct result of that process of appreciation. A great organization called HeartMath studies the relationship between heart rhythms and emotions and finds that when a person is in a mode of love and appreciation, the heart functions in a more rhythmical manner. So literally, your heart is paying attention. And when you're in a mode of frustration, it's jagged and irregular. So your heart literally responds to the emotions you're feeling. So when you practice gratitude and appreciation, and you spend some time breathing and paying attention to your body and thinking about all the things. My aunt, who has now passed away at 97, at 87, she did her first skydiving. And at 90, she got West Nile virus and had hepatitis and just all kinds of problems. Recovered from all of that. But she told us a story about sitting and soaking her feet. And she said, you know, when you're 90, your feet are not too pretty. She said, but I was looking down at them in that water and I thought, man, the miles they have covered. And she's just reminiscing about all of these wonderful things that she had done on her feet. Don't take anything for granted. Mary Oliver, the poet, talks about the soft animal of my body. Be kind to it. Be gentle with it. Love it. And don't try to make it like anybody else's or like any ideal standard. Just love it, period, as it is. And that you will automatically start taking better care of it. Now, this is the real powerhouse of Goodfinding. It's optimism. You know, I mentioned that fear is like a negative mental rehearsal. Optimism is a kind of positive, excuse me, positive mental rehearsal. And there are those things that we're looking forward to. This great event we have coming up tonight. A nice break to go and relax and have some personal time. Those are scheduled events, right? We're pretty sure those are going to happen. Maybe have some good plans for this weekend. So those things, look forward to those. Enjoy that process of looking forward to known and predictable events. And then also, this is where it's not quite so known and predictable. Imagine the person you want to be. For example, anybody excited about aging? Isn't aging cool? What a wonderful thing. But where did it start? Where did aging start? At birth, right? And where does it end? So it's life, right? We've equated aging with decline, but it's really just living. And what an absurd way to move through life with this kind of dread, like, oh no, here it comes, you're getting old, it's going to fall apart, you know. You lose my ability to function. Doesn't have to be that way. One of the things I do on my Goodfinding website is I share these happy videos. I get to collect them and post them. The other day, Sydney and I found one about a woman who at the age of 79 started track and field events, and at 84 she's winning medals for pole vaulting. 96-year-old man who is doing sprinting competition, has his own website, bodybuilding. He's got lots of young girls around him. He's having a blast. Charles Eugster, great guy. There's all the time, but learned about a man who started ballet dancing at 70 and is winning ballet competition at 90. Now this blows our assumptions about aging and the body and activity out of the water, doesn't it? Be exceptional. Don't go quietly into that dark night we call the expected aging process. Don't submit to that unless you want to. If that looks like fun for you, then go ahead. But if you want to live a life that is meaningful and vital and fulfilling and fun all the way to the end, where you can kind of check out, like somebody goes, oh, well, it's just a Native American story. Oh, it's a good day to die. I think I'm ready now. It is possible for every one of us. We have choices, and those choices are moment by moment, day by day. It's not something you do once and you got it done. Cindy and I practice our journaling and meditation every single day, renewing and rebuilding and restoring that enthusiasm for life, that energy to get out there and enjoy and appreciate this world. Now, let's go back to the two functions of the mind here. Remember, I told you the primary function is looking out there. Are they going to love me? Are they good people? Can I trust them? Is that person going to hurt me? Am I safe here? That external focus. And then the secondary function is the internal focus. Let's apply Goodfinding to both of those. What if you looked around you and you try, because I promise you, you don't have to decide whether you're going to notice differences or not. You know, you're going to catch it immediately. That's not a decision you have to make. Look for beauty. Look for value. Look for goodness and worth, especially in those people that you find yourself pulling away from. Look for the value. Look for the goodness. Cindy and I have a fabulous marriage. I had 2 divorces before that, so hadn't always been an easy thing. And I've been doing marriage counseling for many, many years. And I've come up with, it's by no means the total thing, but I will tell you one key to a happy marriage. Write about, think about, focus on those things that you love about your partner. And try to keep your focus there. Because people don't change as a result of critical focus. That causes us to be defensive. So focus on those things you love about your partner. And they are more likely to grow into exactly who you want them to be in that atmosphere of love. Plus, it gets you out of that whole thing of if I'm critical about this long enough, they're going to change it. It's a losing game. It's just not going to work. So free yourself up from that and just love that person. Love what is lovable and leave the rest up to them. Powerful. And it isn't done just once because that critical mind is going to come right in again. So you have to keep doing this, and it will get stronger the more you do it. So that external focus is positive. And then the internal focus. Who am I? What am I doing here? Consider that you have incredible value to offer this world. And if you don't think that or believe that, that is only because you have had limiting experiences that have gotten in the way of that knowledge, because it is a fact. Every one of us has tremendous value to offer. So imagine yourself happy, thriving, fit, strong, healthy, having a blast in your life. Picture it in your mind. Revisit it daily. And work towards the fulfillment of that bright vision. That idea of who you are and who you want to be. Hold that out there. Again, what you pay attention to grows. So when you pay attention to the value that you have, the value the world around you has, and by the way, expand that. I mentioned your spouse. Expand that to the strangers around you. Expand it to the beauty of your material possessions that allow you to live the comfortable life that you have. If you're really courageous, be optimistic and appreciate the world. We're all just two-legged critters sticking off the side of a planet that's spinning and speeding through the universe, right? We're just trying to get this right. Have compassion for humanity, and you will relieve yourself of a huge burden of stress. So let that bright vision expand, the bright vision of who you are and what your future will hold. Inspire yourself, and then refresh and renew every single day, because that default program will kick in as soon as you stop. So you keep practicing. By the way, do you ever go to the gym 3 or 4 days and go, well, hey man, I'm doing great, I'll take the next month off? No, we got to keep doing it, don't we? This is your mental fitness program. This will help you with your mental fitness just like working out helps you with your physical fitness. Okay, let's do questions and answers. 0-0, pretty good.
Any questions? You can always count on Sam.
So how do you turn your mind off? Like when you're wanting to go to sleep and you can't, and things are just running, how do you turn it off?
What does it say here?
Well,
That's the second time you stole my question.
At 2 o'clock this morning, I was wondering the very same thing. It's a matter of practice to communicate messages of comfort and ease to your body. And it's not something, one tool is not going to fix it. But by one of the things that I did, I had an upcoming speaking event, right? So I would just tell myself, and I would picture it in my mind, this is going to go great. I'm going to have a blast. I'm going to be relaxed up there. And then my body would slow down, and I would be able to go to sleep for another 30 minutes before I woke up. It's not always like that, but that's really the way we do it. We visualize and talk to ourselves in positive ways. And also there's been some research on the keeping of a gratitude journal. This particular physician, Robert Emmons, found that people who kept a gratitude journal for 3 weeks had better sleep quality and better sleep duration, and therefore spent more time exercising. Keeping a gratitude journal for 3 weeks. What if you went to your physician and you said, I can't sleep? So, well, go home and keep a gratitude journal for 3 weeks and come see me. Maybe that day's coming. It's probably actually a very good idea. So, does that answer your question? Yeah. Anybody else?
So you talked about looking for goodness. Mm-hmm. But what if you're in a relationship or have a family dynamic, as we heard before, where there is either some negative vibes or some hostility? How do you still look for goodness?
That's probably the biggest challenge we face, one of the biggest challenges. I talked about loving and appreciating what is lovable about that person. That's one part of the answer. Because, if you're thinking, this person is so negative, this person is so hostile, or whatever it is, you're really frustrated by these negative things about that person, that has got your attention. That is where you are investing this valuable capital of your attention. And I know it's hard. As a matter of fact, it's impossible not to notice that. But what I'm suggesting is you just don't stay there. You say, well, he did smile at me last night. And, he does come home after work. Or, You know, I think he means well. You start really grasping at first, they seem little, like little things. But then, if you really start exercising your mind, you'll find there are far more good things about that person than bad. And if there aren't, you might want to rethink the relationship. And there's a great boundary tool, because we're talking about a relationship that's potentially toxic here, right? But maybe it's one you don't want to leave. Find the distance from which you can love that person. Now, the key there is love. If you can't love somebody up close, then back up. I've got family members like this. I'm sure you do too. I can love Cindy up close, thank goodness, because we're married, right? But some of my in-laws and people, you know, I kind of have to have a little distance before I can really love them and enjoy them. So find that distance, because keeping love alive is the key. Because if I get in too close and I'm constantly irritated, I'm part of the problem. Does that answer that?
Great advice.
Yeah.
I think we can all find that applicable. Any other questions?
Okay. Yes. She's scared of the microphone.
Thank you.
So when you talk about journaling, is it just the gratitude or?
Well, I would suggest you do gratitude for the past, appreciation for what is present, and optimism about the future. So it's a 3-part gratitude. And it's also helpful just to do a kind of a general mind dump. If you've got a lot of negative stuff on your mind, it's a good idea to write that down, because the negative thought processes are looping. And when you write it down, you're not going to write in loops. It's going to stretch it out and literally slows that down. That's also a helpful thing when you're trying to sleep. Sometimes getting up and just writing a few things down will help you to just calm that. There's some great research by Dr. James Pennebaker talking about the healing power of writing. And he found that it actually, he did studies in which he had people writing about traumatic events, and the control group wrote about whatever. And the people who wrote about traumatic events from their past over several weeks period of time had a significantly reduced number of medical visits as a result. So write about your past trauma, but look for the value in that. Look for the learning. That's the gratitude part. And then the appreciation part is what's good and right and working right now with me, my relationships, and the world around me. And optimism is, what do I have to look forward to? Who do I want to be? How do I want my next day, week, month, 10 years to be? Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I have multiple myeloma. I was diagnosed in 2003, given 2 months to 2 years to live, and kind of got my attention. And thank God since then, I've had 2 bone marrow transplants, been in 5 clinical trials. But the thing that has helped me not to focus so much on my physical problems, it's a simple little thing, but every night before I go to bed, in order to sleep better, I count simple 10 things, good things that happened today. And it puts me to sleep.
There you go. That's it. And I don't know if you've learned this, but it's a very important piece of information. I was working with a woman who was in recovery from cancer, and she said, you know, my doctors did all these treatments. He said, I'm doing great. And they said, by the way, your immune system is pretty much destroyed. You need to go out there and get that back up again. But they didn't tell her how. Well, we need an immune system, right? Especially if we're dealing with an illness. So optimism and appreciation and gratitude help the immune system to function. And the contrary evidence on that is that depression consistently depletes the functioning of the immune system. So I'm really glad you shared that with us, and I'm glad you're doing those practices. Good for you, sir. Yeah. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. So that really wraps up all the speakers for today. But, I was sitting in the back and just reflecting on everything we heard. And I had to really think, how many times have I been to a meeting and I've said, gee, I went to all these sessions and none of them really applied to me. Or out of the 4 or 5 sessions we went to, really only one of them really made a difference. And I can honestly say today, each one of these presentations made a difference to me. And it really was just a fantastic day and fantastic programming. So thanks to Randy and the Good Days team. They're really a phenomenal group of speakers. And just 1 or 2 points about each one. I think with Dr. Berger, his approach makes sense, right? It's even called making sense of it, right? And we wish all healthcare practitioners would talk to us that way. But even more applicable maybe, I heard people outside during the break saying, gee, I might use this strategy with my spouse, my teenagers, and even my boss. So I thought that was just interesting to really make it more than just that healthcare interaction. With Nadine, really thank you for putting that type of conversation into our lives. I think we really need to have those conversations front and center, and we sort of forget to do that. And many of us can really identify with all those family dynamics, and I think over the course of the day, we've sort of added how to deal with some of those family dynamics, so that's truly helpful. What I took away from Josh, I think, is that phrase, which is fantastic, right? One more thing, one more time. What a great life lesson. I'm sure many of you out there are youth coaches. I happen to coach women's or girls lacrosse. And what a great message to tell kids. One more thing, one more time. I mean, it just really resonated with me. And then certainly Dr. Defoore, really taking the time to look inside, right? Really making your mind your friend, especially at 2 o'clock in the morning. I agree, Sam. Making your mind your friend. So again, I hope everybody enjoyed today's session. I'm sure we'll be talking about it all evening long. And as far as the evening, so the reception does start at 6 o'clock tonight on the 2nd floor of this building, of the Vineyard Tower. And then dinner is in the Tate room 6 to 10, and I'm told at 7 p.m. sharp, because I guess of the interaction or the whatever satellite link with Robin Roberts. And there will be questions, so you'll be able to really interact with her. But 7 p.m. sharp, don't forget to register because that gives you your table assignment for the evening. All right? And that's it. Again, thank you to the whole team at Good Days. It's really been a good day, and I look forward to this evening's session. Good night.